Why, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I know that we can't hear you out there in cyberspace, but we will assume that you're greeting us back. From this endless pilgrimage that we call life, we've paused now for an hour. And during that hour, we're looking for renewal and the possibility of reflection. And from all those heartaches and the fond hopes of our journey, from the excitement of new destinations and the tedium of routine, from the seeking of shortcuts and the avoidance of obstacles, we have paused for real perspective. From the painful knife edge of yesterday's lost hopes and tomorrow's maybes, we seek healing. And may it be that we find in this weekly pause, this 1 hour, what our hearts long for. And so in that confident spirit, let's light our good old chalice flame. Shall we sing a song that some people have accused me of selecting a children's song? Shall we be children just a little bit? One more step along the world I go, number 125. about you, but that woke me right up. There's a Unitarian Universalist minister named Philip Lund, and he likes to play with words. And one of the words that he played with in this reading I'm about to do is the word witness. And he calls it witness. So this is now Witness by Philip Lund. He's reminding us of those things that we need to do here, which are not just to please ourselves, just to make ourselves feel good. Oh, let's do it like a litany. And I'll tell you what to say. We hardly ever do this. But what you say is, I am with you in this. Try that now.
I am with you in this.
Good. To the refugee family seeking a safe place for their children's dreams, say,
I am with you in this.
To the trans teenager longing for a world that accepts them for who they are, say, I am with you in this. To the black parents wondering when will the lives of their children really matter, say,
I am with you in this.
to the lonely, the frightened, and the dispossessed, say, I am with you in this. To the bullied, the battered, the broken down, say, I am with you in this. To the hungry and the homeless, to the silenced and the shamed, to the weary and the worried, say, I am with you in this. To all those for whom your disheveled heart is aching, say, I am with you in this. Thank you, Philip Lund. It's very common in American churches, to have these litanies, these repetitive verse things. I tend not to like them because I think you're either listening to what someone else thinks or you're saying what you think. And the prescription has always bothered me, but I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I'm with you in this. It reaffirms who we are and what we're doing here. Shall we listen to some music? Yeah.
This is a song that Long used to play and really enjoyed playing because the composer didn't compose until she was a lot older, I believe. I think late 60s or something like that.
Yeah.
Reynolds. That's what he
Yeah.
used to say. It's called Magic Grenade.
Yay. Yeah, that's Malvina Reynolds.
Malvina Reynolds, yes.
Yeah. we all come here with different needs, not just different from each other, but different from week to week. And it's almost as if we're bringing a little secret with us because we're not necessarily able to discuss whatever it is we're bringing. Or maybe it is that we can't even conceptualize it well enough to know what it is that's on our minds, what may be keeping us awake at night, what may be the biggest worries that we have, what must be some plan that we can't quite let go of, though we feel that we probably should. And when we're here, there's plenty to listen to in the music and our words, but sometimes it's good to just let the guaranteed miracle that occurs when we're not too busy emerge for each one of us. So this morning, let's spend a little while in the sanctity of that place where we feel that we may hear the truth that rises from here, from our own hearts. And let us do that now as we follow the fading tone of our bell into the good silence. It may be that we heard nothing in our silence other than traffic, other than our own inner traffic, our own labored breathing. But that does not stop us from believing that it is in that well of silence, which is always available to each of us, that what we have to call the truth may be found. One heart of meaning, one God of the thousand names. Here's what we ask: that our lives reflect the certainty of oneness in thought and word and deed, and that we can face calamity and celebration as two faces of the one life within and among us. But this will suffice. This is our prayer. So be it. Inshallah. Shalom. Amen. A guy named Jim Scott wrote the next song. He contacted us and he wanted to come play it here, but he had high fees, like 400 pounds or something. So we'll just play it because it's in our book. Gather the Spirit, number 43. people sing. Every sort of Thursday for quite a long time, Lowell used to call me up and say, "Right, what you preaching about this weekend? I want to find something that matches it." And I said, "Lowell, I don't know. It's Thursday. Yes, I'm beginning to feel as if somebody's turned up the gas flame under my pot, and I need to come up with something." And I then say, "Well, I'll call you on Saturday and you can pick a song then." And I start wondering. Sometimes I wonder just what I'm going to say. Sometimes I wonder what the hell I'm doing up here telling you anything at all. I mean, who am I, right? And we all know this. But it's as if it's my turn to curtsy and your turn to bow. It's as if you will agree to be the ears while I agree to be the mouth for a little while here in our group. It's not so much that I don't have anything to say. My mother, Mrs. Lester, never raised a silent child. It's that the whole question pops up. Why should what I have to say mean anything to you? Even in my most egotistical moments, I don't think I'm blessed with any special intelligence, and certainly not holiness. But if I think too long about that, I can get paralyzed, like the centipede who was asked how many legs he had. He said 100. He said, "How do you keep track of them all?" And he said, "My God, I don't know," and he fell in a ditch. After these many years, I've come up with a kind of a mantra, and I repeat it to myself as I look at an empty computer screen, and here it is. You ready? Drum roll. A good sermon is actually a conversation. It's actually a dialogue. And no, I don't mean that we should all talk at once during these 18.5 minutes, but I'm game for it if you want to try. What I mean is that The role of a decent sermon is to prompt the inner voices of the listeners, to get them traveling the unaccustomed route in their own heads towards that homegrown wisdom as part of any human's birthright. And if that's successful, the listener is turning over some important bits of truth in his or her mind and making inner statements that resonate with their unique personality and history. In other words, we may not be talking about the same thing at all, and that doesn't matter. So I think the next 14 minutes, be paying attention, 14 minutes, may have the same effect. I don't mind if you're not paying attention. I don't mind if you take a nap, because sometimes the very best things come to us when we're half asleep. It won't worry me if you can't remember a single word afterwards, because you probably won't. And what's worse, I probably won't. But we may still go together on a little voyage of discovery and come out of it just that little bit wiser, that little bit better because of it. That's the theory of sermonizing currently exists in this church. So today, what I've decided to do is to tell you some very simple things about me, about what I believe, because actually you have to sort of pick over sermons and sort of infer, but I'm going to just tell you directly what I believe, and you can agree, disagree, or nothing at all. These are things that have lodged in me during my life that I think are worth telling you about. And I'm not going to pretty them up with heady quotations from scholars, and I promise not to thump the pulpit any more than I have to. This is just what I believe. I think that what life really is a kind of course. It's not unique to me to think that. It's the basis of Buddhism, Hinduism, mystical Islam, the better elements of Christianity, those which are not obsessed with social control. And in this course, this school, you might say, called life, there is no pass-fail system. What there is a rich menu of experience, all of which has got the power to teach. The lessons learned are not necessarily practical in the eyes of the world, and that's important, because what the world values is nearly always at odds with the demands of the soul. That's why the great heroes of consciousness, people like Jesus and Ramakrishna, often appear to say things that are foolish. As sages have told us, the fool is wise. It is the wise man who is foolish. So, assuming life is some kind of course and not, as it seems mostly to be in the world that we inhabit, i.e. material success, avoidance of illness and death, and hobbies and satisfying sex lives, the respect of society and fame and privilege, if that's what it was all about, I don't think it'd be a single one of us in this room this morning. And if it is what it's about for you, well, you can leave. It's okay. We won't be insulted. You can even come back for coffee. But if you're still here, that means that at least on some level you agree with me. At least on the level of a hunch that there's something else going on, something that the world doesn't necessarily value at all. But let's dig even deeper. Are you here maybe because you want to get out of here intact without suffering or death or humiliation or loneliness. And you think religion is a kind of lucky rabbit's foot that will keep you safe from all that? Well, no. All that will certainly be a motivator for a lot of churches out there. In fact, I believe that the more you allow your eyes to rest on the infinite, the more uncomfortable you will become in the world. And that's the only promise that the sages could ever give you. Nobody ever said it was a free lunch. But we're all still here. I see nobody did actually go to the door. We're not certain about the ways and means. We're not certain about anything when it comes to these heady topics. But we're pretty much committed to the idea that whatever is going on is going on for our own good. That is the bottom rung on the ladder. That's basic faith, which leads me on to the second thing I believe, that we are not who we think we are. It's often been pointed out that by the time you've raised your children, you've had the experience to become a good parent. You made all the mistakes that there were to make, you've learned from them, and now you know exactly what to do. The problem is you don't have kids anymore. So what's the point? So you learn these lessons, so how do you spend them? What good are they if you learn life lessons at the end of life? By the time you've gone through the experiences and learned, or perhaps maybe not, you're finished. Your history. Toast. What's the point? It must mean, or so the so-called wisdom of the world would have it, that really it's better to avoid all those hard lessons and get away with it. Spin a cocoon of comforting lies, cement yourself into an anodyne relationship that doesn't cost too much or too little. It's not too hot or too cold. Use mood-enhancing substances when the truth finally does come flapping like a dark angel into your room at 5 o'clock in the morning. Or we could listen to the fools of history, people like Rumi, people like Francis of Assisi, who know that there's an us that has got no relationship to the passports we carry and all the lies that we coax out of our friends. These fools tell us of a life that we're living and have always been living that we are unaware of. Only occasionally we might get a sense of this in meditation or a glimpse of a certain beautiful seascape or a mountain. But this us is not just older than the mountains. This us is realer too. This us is put on the trappings of ordinary life in order to grow towards some final union that we can't even speculate about. And I think it was almost like becoming a character in an intriguing novel in order to experience the plot. The real us is engaged with life the way the hero of a thriller is engaged with the author. It is convincing. But the real us, who we really are, is somewhere else. Well, yippee. Does that mean I'm not afraid of pain and death? Does that mean I'm not afraid of that? All those things? Humiliation, embarrassment, poverty, discomfort. Wrong. I'm not just afraid of death. I'm afraid of toothache. I'm afraid of embarrassment. If you had time, if you had the inclination, I could give you a longer list. But at the same time, I think I can hear, just off stage, a voice whispering, saying something that we've heard over and over. You know what? All is looked after. All is purposeful. and all is well. No, you can't see it from where you are now. And that's where the word faith comes in. And what that tells me is that my lack of calm is just lack of maturity. And that when I grow up a bit more, I can have done with all that fear and all that anxiety for good. But you might say, I'm old. There may not be so much time for me to get my lessons all correct. Well, I'm not going to bore you with theology, but I will tell you something else I believe. We all have and will have as much time as we need. We will have as much time as we need. Don't ask me how I know that. I just do. Well, you probably already guessed this about me, and I might as well mention something else. Are you ready? I believe in God. And if that sounds strange to hear a minister from a pulpit having to cluster apologies around a simple statement like that, well, that's a good thing about Unitarianism, because most of the people I know disbelieve in that old-fashioned God, and of course, so do I. I don't believe in that old boy in the chapel, in the Sistine Chapel ceiling. I don't believe in some super powerful guy who makes you crawl with humility, who needs constant flattery, who wants sacrifice, who has a really crap idea about fun. I don't believe in that. And I'm not going to bore you with clever argument here. I don't think being clever in the end is all that useful when it comes to the really important things in life. I'm getting impatient with cleverness in all its forms anyway, but I'm aware that I won't find a way to bring you along with me on this one unless you want to come. What I will say is that the story of my life so far has been a matter of seeing through my own cleverness and learning that I have outsmarted myself over and over. There's been one long story of realizing how little I actually know, so that to make declarations like I might once have done, there's no God or whatever, all those declarations you might make, is nothing more than the sound of my own ignorance. And it makes me believe that, as Paul said, my view up to now has been as one through a dark glass, but that one day I will see clearly. The face that I keep trying to make out through that dimness will be revealed to be a reflection, and the glass not a clear pane at all, but a mirror. And something tells me that underneath it all, everything is all right. Nothing is broken. Everything is as it needs to be. And that same something also urges me to celebrate that fact without a lot of rhetoric. It's also told me to avoid talking clever nonsense and just speak the plain truth when it comes to these issues. And I'm luckier than any of you because I get to stand up here and tell you what I believe. But that means you're entitled to hear it straight and direct and from the heart. So I'll just say amen. Amen. Was that, what was that?
It's the Wild Mountain Time. It's a folk song. Wild Mountain.
That's a keeper. Let's collect our offering, shall we? Lovely. I won't be here next week, so we need to figure out what to do. We can have a homegrown service. Jill has already offered to help put together something, which would mean people bringing readings that they like or whatever, a lot of singing and music. They're nice as services. And then you can have coffee and a chat and have a really good Sunday. That's one option. Another option is just not to have a service at all, which is unusual for this church because we've pretty much stayed open through thick and thin. I think we closed for one Sunday when Steve Dick died. I think we have closed a couple times during blizzards and heavy snowfall. On the other hand, some churches, like the American churches, close for the entire summer. And somehow people go back in the autumn. So let's just open the floor now. It doesn't matter that we're still recording. What do you think? What should we do? No opinions?
I like the idea of community service.
Yeah? That sounds promising. Just bring something you like, something that's meaningful to you. And Jill can knit it all together with some lovely music. And you've got a story, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, which I don't have to read. You've got my readings and things.
So how does that sound next Sunday? Yeah? Great. I'm sorry I'll miss it.
But I think we wouldn't record, yeah?
Yeah.
It'd just be us.
Yeah, we don't need to record that. No, it's too complicated. Yeah, okay, so that's what we'll do. And you can tell me all about it when I get back. And I'll get back and you'll say, we don't need you anymore, man. What are you doing here? Out of here. Okay, so that's decided. Let's sing one of my favorites. Maybe you've noticed. The lyrics are put together by my old mentor when I was training to be a minister, David Dole. And it's number 210, The Purple Book, When the Song of Life is Ringing. Grief and pain. Now with hearts made bolder, with deepening love, and with hope that lives beyond our little store of wisdom, we take up our lives again in the world that calls us. May we not be ruled by fear, and may the words we speak and the deeds we do reflect the faith that has brought us once again to this house of soul. And so may we look after each other, because we know we can, until we meet again. Amen.
Friendship. It's friendship, friendship.